session, we will start with the immune system. So last time we start with the lymphatic system, lymphatic vessels, lymphatic organs. Now we will continue with the body defense mechanism. The body defense mechanism in our body, usually or almost, we are having in contact with microorganisms. So microorganism is there in our environment, microorganism is there even in our body, but not all the microorganisms are harmful. Some of them, they are helping the body against the pathogenic organism, and I think you took some of those in microbiology sessions. And also exposure to some microorganism, also it will help in the formation of immunity. So we will see what kind of immunity that we are having and how the body is defending himself against infection and protecting himself against infection. So the body is constantly in contact with bacteria, as we said, fungi, and virus. So it is there in our body, it is there in our environment. The body has two defense mechanism system against foreign material that form the immune system. Those two systems, one of them it is called the innate non-specific defense mechanism. Innate non-specific defense mechanism or defense system. The second one, which is the adaptive specific defense system. So, two types of defense. The innate one, which is non-specific, from its name, it is not non-specific, so it means that it will act against all type of infectious material or any type of antigen. So it is there to protect ourselves from any type of antigen regardless to its specification. The second one, which is the adaptive specific defense system, here the body is developing a specific antibody to a specific organism. So it will act only on that strain of microorganism. It will not act on other microorganisms. Because of that, when any infection is provoked in the community, they are giving immunity, they are giving vaccine to the specific organism that is there in the community. And you saw that during coronavirus spread, they develop a vaccine which is specific for that type of virus in order to enhance the immune system to develop antibodies against that specific virus. But that antibodies which is developed in the body, it will not act against other virus. It will act against only that strain of virus. So the immunity, it is a specific resistant to a disease. So it is a resistant against disease. It will prevent us from getting disease and disorder. So the immune system, as we said, we have the innate non-specific defense mechanism. It is divided to the first line of defense mechanism and the second line of defense mechanism. So the innate one, which is the generalized one, it is divided to two types. Primary, or the first line, and secondary line defense mechanism. The adaptive specific defense mechanism, which is the third line of defense mechanism. Now, we will see the first line of defense mechanism. So the first line that protects us against infection is the skin and mucous membrane. So it is like a wall that prevents the microorganism from being entered inside our body. So skin and mucous membrane, and also the secretion of the skin and the mucous membrane. So skin and mucous membrane and their secretion, they are protecting us from the infection by acting as a firewall or to prevent the contact or the entrance of microorganism to our body. The excretion also, it has the excretion which is coming out from sebaceous gland, from the sweaty glands also, it has some acidic nature that also will kill microorganism and prevent multiplication of those microorganisms over our body. So it will decrease the amount of bacteria in our body. The second line of defense mechanism, the phagocytic cell. The phagocyte, from which type of blood cells? From the white blood cells, thank you. So, the phagocyte blood cells, the natural killers cell, all are from the lymphatic system and from the white blood cells. The antimicrobial protein, which is there also in our blood, and the inflammatory process response in our body and fever. So those are the second line of microorganism. Here it means that those things are preventing the microorganism from entering inside the body tissues. So they are protecting from the surface, from the beginning. They are a wall against the entrance of microorganism to inside our body. Here, when some of microorganism escaped from the skin and can, or if there is a wound, and it can come inside the body tissues, then those generalized or reaction will happen. So either it will be killed by the phagocytic cell, or the natural killer cell, or the antimicrobial protein which is there in our blood, or the inflammatory process which is formed there that will help in attraction of the macrophage and the phagocytic cells, and also the fever which will lead to an environment which is not suitable for the multiplication of microorganisms. So this is the second line. The third line, which is lymphocyte and the antibodies which is there, which will be formed, but the antibody it will not be formed unless we are exposed to the certain antigen. So we are not having in our body a specific antibodies to the microorganism unless if we are exposed to that microorganism, or unless we are taking that antibody from our mother during embryonic life, or from the milk of our mother when we are still young. The macrophage and other antigen responding cells, they are the third line of the defense mechanism. Now we will come to every one of them and we will see how they are acting. So the innate responses or non-specific defense mechanism system, it is a mechanism that protects against variety of inhibitors or bacteria, virus, fungal, all antigen. So it will act against all antigen. So respond immediately to protect the body from foreign material. So it has a direct response immediately. The innate body defense are mechanical barriers. Mechanical barriers like what? Like the skin and mucous membrane and their secretion. So they are acting as a barrier to pathogen or harmful disease causing microorganism, and they are including the body surface covering, which is the intact skin. When the skin is intact, it means that there is, as we said, it is similar to a wall that prevents the entrance of anything to the home. The intact mucous membrane, also the same thing. Secretion chemicals of the skin and the mucous membrane, and as we mentioned, the secretion like this from the sweaty gland and from the sebaceous gland, it has an acidic nature that will kill microorganism. And specialized, there are some specialized human cells that also will kill. Adaptive specific defense mechanism, this is the adaptive one. So specific defense mechanism is required for each type or invader. As we said, it is specific for a certain microorganism. Initial exposure to antigen is needed before the protection. So it will not be formed unless we are exposed to that antigen, or we can get it ready from others. Respond slowly in the first exposure. So if we are exposing for the first time, the amount of the antibody, it will be less, and it will take time until it forms. Because of that, when they are giving vaccine, they are giving the first dose, and then they are giving the second dose, then they are giving the booster dose, and there is a gap in between them in order to enhance the immune system to formulate an antibodies and the amount of the antibodies to reach the required amount to be safe and to attack those microorganisms when it is coming in our body. Did you understand? So we have the innate mechanism, and this we said that it is the first line of protection, and it will act against all type of invader. The second one, which is the adaptive, it is specific to a certain microorganism or to a certain antigen. And it will be developed after exposure to that antigen. It will not be developed without exposure to that antigen. Our immune system, it responds to that antigen by developing or perform new antibodies. So, in summary, as we said, it is the same thing that we are repeating it in order to understand it well. So we have the first time, as we said, the intact skin, which is the epidermis. It has the acidic mental and the keratinine on it. So the skin, as we said, it will form a mechanical barrier that protect entry of pathogen and other harmful substance in our body. Then the skin secretion, it makes the epidermis surface acidic, as we said, which inhibit the bacterial growth. Also, the sebum also contain bacteria killing chemicals, provide resistance against, and the keratinine layer in our body, the keratinine, it will provide resistance against acid and alkaline and bacterial enzyme. Because of that, the keratinine, it will protect our skin from breaking down when we are exposed to the microorganism or to acid or to alkaline. The intact mucous membrane, the mucus also for mechanical barriers prevent entry of pathogen. Also, it will trap microorganism in respiratory and digestive tract. The mucous membrane is lining the internal organs. The skin is covering the own organ from outside. And both are doing the same function. The nasal hair also, it filter and trap microorganism in the nasal passage. So the hair in our nose also, it is from a type of protective material for our body. So it will trap, prevent the organism from entering to respiratory system. Also, we have the cilia. Cilia, probable debris leading mucus away from the lower respiratory tract. There are cilia in the lower respiratory tract, and they are moving always and getting out any excretion or any dust that might come contain bacteria or virus or whatever is it. So it will help it to go out of the respiratory tract and to go up. We have in our digestive system, we have the gastric juice. The gastric juice also, it contains, which acid is there in the gastric juice? It's Cl, the hydrochloric acid. So it will keep the media acidic, and that also will help in killing of microorganisms. So it will help in digestion, and it will digest with it microorganism. Digest the protein, and the microorganism, it is kind of protein. So the gastric juices and the enzyme also in the stomach, also all of those, they are leading to destruction of the cells of microorganism. The acid also, metal or the vagina, that also inhibit the growth of microorganism and bacteria in the vaginal tract. Lacrimal secretion and tears and saliva. The tears, it will clean out our ears, and also it will has lysozyme enzyme that also will kill the microorganism. The saliva also, it will clear out and help in cleaning of our mouth and keeping the mucous membrane moist, and also it has an enzyme that help in prevention of multiplication of microorganisms. The cellular and chemical defense, which is the second line of defense mechanism, we have the phagocyte. The phagocyte, which is type of blood cell, what they will do, they will engulf the microorganism. So when the microorganism is entering inside our body, what the phagocyte will do, they will engulf it. They will go around it and take it inside the cell. After that, it will be lysis and it will be destructive. It will be digested by the cells. So, engulf and destroy pathogen that reach the surface membrane barriers, and macrophage also contribute to the immune responses. Then we have also the natural killer cell, which promote the cell lysis by direct cell attack. So they will attacking those cells against virus infection or the cancer cells in the body. Do not depend on the specific antigen recognition. So it doesn't depend on specific antigen recognition. The inflammatory response, when we are getting an injury, there will be what we call it the inflammatory process. after injury, what we have at the site of the injury? I think maybe most of us, we get some either small injury or large injury, or we did some operation. So, when tissue destruction is there, what you will observe in the site? Inflammation. What's the inflammation? What is the changes?
Color.
Change in the color. How the color will appear? Red color. Why do you think that the red color is there? It's due to what? What's happened? Hmm? Why the red color is coming? It's due to what? When injury is there, why the red color is becoming there? Why it's become like a red? More blood supply, yes. More blood supply will be there. We will see why more blood supply will be coming there. What other signs that you will feel also at the site of injury? Redness will be there. What other sign? Swelling, yes. Thank you. What other signs? Just raise your voice, I couldn't hear you. What other signs?
Pain.
Pain, yes, thank you. The last one? When you feel it, how does it feel? Warm, yes, hotness. So those are the 4 signs of inflammation. Hotness, redness, swelling, and pain. We will see why those signs are coming. We will discuss that. We have the natural killer as we're circulating in the blood, lymph also, and can lyse and disintegrate or dissolve or kill the cancer cell, virus, and infectious cells. The natural killer cells are non-phagocytic one. They are not doing phagocytosis. Release chemical called perforin to target the cell. It will target the cell membrane and the nucleus, causing disintegration of the cell wall. So they will act on the cell wall of the virus, the infected cell or the bacteria or the cancerous cells. The natural killer cell also release inflammatory chemicals that will attract other white blood cells to engulf the microorganism. So the phagocytic cells such as neutrophils and macrophage engulf the foreign material into vacuoles. So they will go around them. They are engulfing the bacteria or the virus, and then so the phagosome will be formed, which is like a vesicle. Then lysosome, which is an enzyme which destructs those bacteria, it will be excreted and it will lead to destruction of the bacteria or the virus. So acid hydrolase enzyme with the lysosome, they are destructing the bacteria inside the cell. Then it will be by exocytosis, it will be removed out, the end product, it will be removed out from the cell in order to be discarded from our body. So the end material that is after destruction of the cell, it will be removed from the body. So the phagocyte adhere to the pathogen, the phagocyte engulf a particle forming a phagosome, then lysosome fused with the phagocytic vesicles, forming phagocytomes. Then lysosomal enzyme also digest the pathogenic and the debris, leaving the residual body by exocytosis. Exocytosis, which is removing it will go to side the cell membrane, and then the cell membrane will open and lifting them out. Now we'll come to the inflammatory response. In the inflammatory response, also it is non-specific responses which is triggered when the body tissue are injured. So, occur in a response to physical trauma, irritating chemicals, or virus, bacteria. So, when any antigen, when any injuries, when any tissue destruction is happened, either due to physical trauma or due to bacterial action on the tissue or viral action on the tissues, then inflammatory process will start. Or chemical reaction from some poisonous material, like when bee bite or insect bite or scorpion bite, all of them, they will create inflammatory process. The function of the inflammatory process is to prevent the spread or damaging agent. So it will prevent the spread of damaging agent to the other surrounding tissue. Dispose of cell debris also and pathogen through the phagocytosis. So it will get rid of the destructed cells through the phagocytosis and promote also the tissue repair. When tissue destruction is there, it needs to be repaired again to rebuild a new tissues. So, as we said, there are 4 common signs of inflammation: redness, hotness, swelling, and pain will be there. Why they are coming? How they are appearing there, we will see here. So, when injury is there, either due to trauma or due to bacteria or virus or any other cause, there will be some cell damage. So definitely some damage will be there. When we get physical trauma or cut, there is a cell damage. That cell damage, it will release chemical substances from the destructed cells. So that release the quinine, the histamine, and other chemicals. It will be excreted it will be released in that area. And those chemicals, they will affect on the tissues beside the injured site, either due to burn or whatever the cause is. So we will see the action of those chemicals in our body, how they will act in our body. So if we took the blood vessels in the area of the injury, those chemical substances, it will lead to the blood vessel dilatation. So the blood vessels at the area, it will be dilated. When the blood vessels is dilated, what that mean? The blood which is coming to the area, it will be more or less. So more blood will come to the area. When more blood is coming there, what the blood is carrying with it?
White.
No. White blood cells? You mean? What other thing? White blood cells in order to defend the organism? What other thing? What's the normal function of blood? It carry what? nutrient material and oxygen. The oxygen and nutrient material, it is needed for the tissue repair also. So the amount of blood which is coming to the area will be more due to the chemical substance effect on the blood vessels and dilatation. It will increase the blood flow to the area. This will lead to the redness and hotness. The blood also, it will maintain the body temperature. Metabolism will be more, blood supply will be more, so the color of our body, it will be affected by the blood supply to it. Because of that, we will see the pink color of that area will be more. So it will increase the metabolism because of nutrient and more oxygen is coming. More blood, more oxygen, more nutrient. So it will increase the metabolic rate of the tissue cell, which will help also in the healing process. And bringing some nutrient and oxygen to the area, as we said, also it will help in the healing process. So the redness and hotness, it is due to more blood supply coming to the area. Now, the blood vessels which is there also, we have, this is the generalized blood vessels. Here we have in the capillary. The capillary also will dilate. And we know that the capillary is formed from how many layers? One layer. So that one layer, when it is dilated and stretched, it means that the intracellular space will be more. So it will lead to more leak of fluid from that very small blood vessels from the capillaries. So it will lead to leak of more fluid. That fluid also it has a nutrient, it has also it will help in the nutrition there. So this will lead to edema. So the fluid, it will accumulate in that side. So it will lead to edema. And that edema or that swelling, it will lead to compression over the nerve ending in that area. When it compresses the nerve ending, it will lead to the pain that we are feeling. So did you understand how those signs and symptoms are appearing? So the redness and hotness is due to more blood supply to the area. The swelling, it is due to dilatation of the capillaries and more leak of fluid in the tissues. The pain is due to compression of the fluid which is coming out in the tissue. It will compress the nerve ending and it will lead to pain. So this will lead, the swelling and pain, it will lead to limitation, some limitation of movement of the area. If it is near the joint, it will affect the joint movement. So anyway, when swelling is there also, wherever is it, it will decrease the movement. Also, this will help in the process of healing. There is another thing which is coming out from those fluids which leak out, which is the clotting protein which enter the area. You observe sometimes that when we have some small injury, after a while you will see that serous fluid, that yellowish fluid, it will be coming out. And that fluid, it will make a seal to that area. The purpose of that is to preventing further entrance of microorganisms and further injury. In order to return back to an intact skin. So This will lead to protection and forming of fibrin barriers on the skin. Also, it will lead to increase the possibility of going toward healing. Also, those chemical substances which is coming out from the distracted tissues, it will lead that the neutrophils and then the monocyte and other white blood cells, they will enter the area. So the chemotaxin, which is secreted by the distracted cells, it will attract more blood cells to immigrate from the blood vessels to the tissues. And the effect of those white blood cells is removal of the damaged and dead tissue cells and pathogen from the area. So they will remove the pathogen from the area. Did you understand the inflammatory process? Is it understood by every one of you? So simply, when injuries is there, cell destruction will be there. The cell destruction, it will lead to release of chemicals outside of those cells. Those chemicals, they are leading to dilatation of blood vessels. More blood supply will come. The color will be changed due to that. Redness will be there. Then hotness will be there because the metabolism will be increased in that area. Leakage from the capillaries because it is dilated. It will lead that edema will form. The edema, it will compress over the nerve ending. It will lead to pain. All the substances which is coming out there, clotting proteins, will seal the wound area, will seal the destruction site in order to prevent microorganisms from entering and to form a new barriers. The neutrophil, due to chemotoxic substances, due to chemical substances which is coming out from the distracted cells, also it will be attracted to the tissue and it will immigrate from the blood vessels to the tissue in order to do macrophage and destruction of the cells, because the distracted cells, now it is not working well. So it has to be removed. So it will be removed by the macrophage and neutrophils. All of those processes, it will help in the healing process and tissue repair. This is simply the inflammatory process and how it is happening. So the phagocyte, as we said here, or the neutrophils migrate from the bone marrow to the area of the inflammation by rolling along the vessels wall, following that event and destruction. Neutrophils squeeze through the capillaries wall by diabetes to sit at the site of the inflammation, and neutrophils gather in the site of the tissue injury, positive chemotaxis, and also consume any foreign material present there. As we said, the clotting protein, we said the function of them is to prevent the spread of microorganisms and to have a protective area. The local heat, it speed up the defense responses and the tissue repair when the heat is there, because metabolism will be more. If the damaged area contain pathogen, then the T cells also will act on that. So this is the effect of the inflammatory process. In next session, we will go to the second part and third part of the third part of the immune system, which is the adaptive specific or specific immunity.